The engine hums to a stop as Detective Marcus Reynolds pulls into his driveway, exhaling slowly. It's nearly dusk, and the sky over Willow Ridge Estates is a soft blend of gold and violet, the kind of picturesque suburban evening straight out of a real estate ad. Everything here is perfect: the neatly trimmed hedges, the identical white mailboxes, the sidewalks so clean they practically sparkle. Marcus steps out of his black sedan, stretching his arms. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of fresh-cut grass and someone's overpriced lavender candles wafting from an open window. Peaceful. At least it should be. 6 months. That's how long he's lived here. A beautiful 3-bedroom house with a backyard big enough for weekend barbecues. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a place to unwind after long shifts in the city. But from the very first week, Marcus knew this neighborhood wasn't as welcoming as it appeared. It's the little things. The way neighbors hesitate before waving. The forced politeness in their smiles. The lingering stares when he jogs through the community park, as if a black man running in his own neighborhood is cause for concern. It's never overt, never direct, but the message is clear. You don't belong. Still, Marcus keeps to himself. He doesn't stir the pot. After years on the force, he's seen how quickly things escalate when the wrong people feel threatened. But even patience has its limits. And then there's her. Marcus doesn't have to look to know she's watching. She's always watching. Karen Whitmore, self-appointed queen of Willow Ridge and reigning HOA president, lives just 2 houses down. She's the kind of woman who clutches her purse tighter when she sees him at the grocery store but insists she's not racist. The type to smile in his face, but dial security the moment he has guests over. Marcus plays her game, polite but distant, never giving her an opening. But something tells him she's been waiting for an excuse. As he grabs his duffel bag from the passenger seat, his phone buzzes. A notification from his security cameras. Motion detected. Front yard. His brow furrows. He taps the screen, pulling up the live feed. A figure stands near the curb, arms crossed. Even in the grainy footage, he recognizes the stiff posture, the unmistakable blonde bob. Karen. She's staring at his car, lips pursed in disapproval, as if the very sight of it offends her. Marcus exhales sharply. What now? He's careful not to react. Instead, he walks up the driveway, pretending not to notice. But he can feel her gaze burning into his back. It's nothing yet. But Marcus knows better. The storm is coming. And this is just the first drop of rain. The next morning, Marcus steps outside, coffee in hand, ready to start his day. The neighborhood is still half asleep, the only sounds coming from sprinklers hissing over flawless green lawns. But something isn't right. His eyes land on his car, and his grip on the coffee mug tightens. A neon orange sticker is plastered across the windshield, screaming its message in bold black letters. Parking violation. Unauthorized vehicle. Subject to towing. Marcus exhales through his nose, setting his coffee down on the hood. You've got to be kidding me. He scans the quiet street. No other cars have stickers. His neighbors have vehicles parked the same way, some in driveways, some along the curb, yet his is the only one targeted. His jaw tightens. This isn't just an HOA rule enforcement. It's something else. Movement catches his eye. Across the street, Karen Whitmore stands on her porch, wrapped in a silk robe, coffee cup in hand. She watches him with a smug little smile, like she's waiting for a reaction. Marcus straightens, schooling his expression. He won't give her the satisfaction. Instead, he peels the sticker off and inspects it. Fine print at the bottom reads, "Issued by the Willow Ridge HOA. Tow enforcement pending." His stomach tightens. Pending? Good morning, Detective Reynolds. Marcus looks up. Karen is now standing at the edge of her driveway, her expression perfectly composed, as if she just happened to be out for some fresh air. Karen. His voice is level, but there's an edge beneath it. She gestures toward his car. I see you got the notice. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but HOA regulations are very clear about unregistered vehicles. Marcus folds his arms. Unregistered? Karen tilts her head, feigning innocence. All resident vehicles require a decal per community policy. It ensures we don't have, you know, outsiders leaving their cars overnight. There it is. That thinly veiled emphasis on outsiders. Marcus meets her gaze. It's an unmarked police vehicle, Karen. I can't exactly slap a sticker on it. She offers a syrupy smile. Rules are rules. Yet I see plenty of other cars parked without decals. He nods toward a silver SUV across the street. Mr. Anderson's car doesn't have one. Karen barely glances at it. Oh, well, he's been here years. The board knows his vehicle. Convenient. She shrugs, unfazed. If you have an issue, you're welcome to take it up with the board at next month's meeting. But in the meantime, she sips her coffee. The tow company has already been called. Marcus' stomach tightens. You what? Karen smiles wider. They should be here soon. A slow burn of anger settles in his chest. She's pushing. Testing. Daring him to react. But Karen has no idea. She just made a massive mistake. Marcus keeps his expression neutral, but inside, his patience is unraveling. Karen, he says, voice steady, if my car gets towed, you're interfering with police property. That's a serious offense. Karen doesn't flinch. Instead, she tilts her head, her smile never slipping. Oh, Detective Reynolds, I think you're overreacting. This is a simple enforcement of the rules. If the HOA makes exceptions for one person, where does it end? Marcus narrows his eyes. It ends where the selective enforcement begins. Karen exhales dramatically, as if indulging a child. This isn't personal. Marcus glances down at the neon sticker, then at the empty driveways where multiple cars sit without decals. Oh, so why am I the only one getting towed? Karen waves a dismissive hand. We're just ensuring compliance. You could have easily avoided this if you'd followed the rules. Marcus tightens his jaw. He's dealt with her type before, the kind that wields power with a smile, convinced they're untouchable. A low rumble in the distance makes his stomach turn. He looks up. The tow truck is coming. Marcus turns back to Karen. You should call them off. Right now. Karen lets out a soft laugh. I'm afraid that's not how this works. But before Marcus can respond, another voice cuts through the tension. Hold on now, what's going on here? Both of them turn to see Mrs. Alvarez, one of Marcus's few friendly neighbors, stepping onto her porch. She's in her 60s, sharp-eyed, with a kind of no-nonsense energy that comes from raising 4 kids. Karen's smile tightens. Oh, good morning, Carmen. Just handling a small parking violation. Mrs. Alvarez's gaze flicks between them before landing on Marcus. A violation? His car's been parked there for months without a problem. Karen's jaw clenches for half a second before she recovers. Yes, well, new enforcement measures were recently approved by the board. Marcus crosses his arms. Oh, because I checked the last HOA meeting minutes. No mention of new policies. Karen's nostrils flare. Well, some discussions happen outside of meetings. It's all perfectly within the board's authority. Mrs. Alvarez scoffs. That's funny because I am on the board and I don't remember voting on that. For the first time, Karen looks uneasy. Marcus presses the advantage. So, Karen, are you saying this was an official vote, or just your decision? She opens her mouth, then closes it. We are only trying to uphold community standards. Mrs. Alvarez shakes her head. No, Karen. What you're doing is targeting him. The tow truck pulls up, its brakes hissing. A burly driver steps out, wiping his hands on his jumpsuit. All right, what am I moving? Karen recovers quickly, turning to him. Black sedan right there. It's in violation of HOA policy. Marcus pulls out his wallet and flips it open, flashing his badge. That black sedan is an unmarked police vehicle. The driver hesitates. Wait, it's what? Karen's expression flickers, just for a moment, but she recovers. He claims it's a police vehicle, but without proper documentation. Marcus cuts her off. You mean this? He taps his phone, pulling up his department's official vehicle registry. Within seconds, the screen displays his sedan's details. Official law enforcement use. The tow driver leans over, squinting at the screen. His frown deepens. Yeah, I'm not touching that. No way I'm messing with a cop's car. Karen's face darkens. Excuse me? The driver shrugs. Lady, I don't care about your HOA rules. You should have told me it was a police vehicle. I could lose my license for towing that. Karen takes a deep breath, clearly struggling to contain her frustration. Then she tries a different angle. Detective Reynolds, she says, her voice dripping with false concern. I understand you may feel singled out, but we all have to follow the same rules. Marcus lets out a sharp, humorless laugh. That's interesting because I have security footage showing multiple residents parking without decals. Would you like to explain why none of their cars got notices? Karen's mouth presses into a thin line. And before you say you didn't notice, Marcus scrolls through his phone, tapping into his security camera footage. A few swipes later, the screen displays a clear time-stamped video of Karen walking past multiple cars without decals, not giving them a second glance. Mrs. Alvarez peeks at the screen. Well.
Would you look at that?
Karen's face is a perfect mix of fury and panic. This is completely unnecessary. You're making a scene. Marcus tilts his head. Am I? Or are you just mad you got caught? Karen's nostrils flare. I was going to let this slide, but now. Let it slide. Marcus takes a step forward. Karen, you ordered a tow on a police vehicle with no legitimate reason. That's not just an HOA violation. That's tampering with government property. The tow driver backs away, hands raised. I want nothing to do with this. I'm out. He turns and climbs back into his truck. Within seconds, the engine rumbles and the vehicle pulls off. Karen watches him go, her carefully composed mask slipping. Marcus pockets his phone. Now, I suggest you drop this whole violation before we have a much bigger conversation, maybe with a few lawyers involved. Mrs. Alvarez smirks. And I'll make sure this little incident gets brought up at the next HOA meeting. Karen's mouth tightens. For the first time, she looks like she's realizing something. She just lost. Karen squares her shoulders, her eyes glinting with a cold satisfaction. Even with the tow truck gone, she refuses to back down. You know, Detective Reynolds, she says, voice dripping with condescension. I was going to be reasonable about this. But since you insist on making a spectacle, I have no choice but to escalate. Marcus folds his arms. Oh, and how exactly do you plan to do that? Karen smiles sweetly. Simple. You may have scared off the tow truck, but the HOA has full authority to issue fines. And, if necessary, we can escalate to legal action. Mrs. Alvarez scoffs. Legal action? Over what, Karen? A made-up violation. Karen barely acknowledges her. She's locked in on Marcus now, her voice smooth and sickly sweet. If you refuse to comply, we'll be forced to reconsider whether you're a good fit for this community. I mean, you do have a history of being uncooperative with HOA rules. Marcus stiffens. There it is. The veiled threat. The unspoken suggestion that he is the problem. That he doesn't belong. Karen tilts her head, feigning concern. You've already received multiple complaints from concerned residents about loud gatherings, suspicious visitors, and now, blatant disregard for HOA policies. Marcus clenches his jaw. He knows exactly what she's doing, painting him as the aggressive black neighbor, stirring paranoia, laying the groundwork for some bogus HOA action to force him out. And Karen? She's enjoying it. This is a community detective, she continues, stepping forward. And if you can't respect the rules, then perhaps you should consider moving somewhere more suitable. Mrs. Alvarez glares at her. You're out of line, Karen. Karen ignores her. She holds Marcus's gaze, daring him to challenge her. But Marcus doesn't rise to the bait. Instead, he exhales slowly and shakes his head. Karen, I really hoped you'd be smart enough to let this go. Karen blinks. Excuse me? Marcus pulls out his phone. You've been very vocal about HOA rules today. But you know what's interesting? I happen to have a recording of last week's HOA meeting. Karen stiffens. Recording? That's against policy. Marcus smirks. Actually, it's not. Since the meeting took place in a public community space, residents are allowed to record. And guess what? I happen to catch something very interesting. He taps his screen, and a voice crackles to life. Of course, I don't expect the same level of compliance from certain people in the neighborhood. It's a matter of upbringing. Some communities have different standards. Karen goes pale. Mrs. Alvarez's mouth drops open. Karen, tell me that's not you. Karen opens her mouth, but Marcus isn't done. He swipes again, pulling up an email, an official HOA document with Karen's signature. This is your written request to have my car towed. And in it, you claim you had no choice because of multiple complaints from homeowners. Karen stares at the screen, lips pressed so tight they almost disappear. Marcus tilts his head. But here's the problem, there are no complaints on record. I checked. I even called a few of my neighbors. Not one of them filed anything. Karen glares at him. Marcus cuts her off. That means you lied, Karen. You fabricated complaints to justify targeting me. And when that wasn't enough, you invented a parking rule. The color drains from Karen's face, but she forces a smile. You're being dramatic. No one is going to care about a harmless. Oh, I think they will. He turns his phone so she can see the recording is still live, broadcasting straight to the Willow Ridge HOA Community Forum. Karen's breath catches. A flood of comments pop up on the screen. Wait, she really said that? This is disgusting. We need to vote her out. Karen's composure cracks. You can't do that. Marcus slides his phone into his pocket. I already did. Karen sputters, then whirls to Mrs. Alvarez. This is outrageous. Are you seriously going to let him? Mrs. Alvarez crosses her arms. Karen, I've put up with your nonsense for years, but this? Lying, targeting a neighbor, racist remarks? You've gone too far. Karen shakes her head rapidly, voice rising in desperation. He manipulated the recordings. This is a witch hunt. I was only doing what's best for the community. Marcus steps closer, voice low and firm. No, Karen. You were trying to force me out. And now, you just exposed yourself to everyone. Karen's breathing is shallow, her eyes darting wildly. For the first time, she looks afraid. The predator just became prey. Karen's breath comes fast, her manicured fingers curling into fists. Her usual smug composure is gone, replaced by sheer panic. This is slander, she spits. You manipulated that recording, Reynolds. Everyone knows you people. She stops herself too late. Mrs. Alvarez's eyebrows shoot up. Marcus exhales a slow, measured breath. Go on, Karen. Finish that sentence. Karen swallows hard, realizing the hole she just dug. She shakes her head violently. No, I didn't mean. I was just saying. But before she can scramble for a lifeline, a new voice cuts through the air. Well. Looks like the real Karen Whitmore just slipped out. The three of them turn to see Mr. Hughes, one of the senior HOA board members, standing at the edge of his porch. His phone is raised, recording. Karen pales. Why you can't record me without my consent? Hughes chuckles. Actually, I can. HOA regulations don't protect board members from public accountability. You'd know that if you actually followed the rules. A door opens across the street. Then another. Neighbors start stepping outside. Word is spreading fast. Karen stiffens as she realizes she's being surrounded, not by force, but by witnesses. This is ridiculous, she hisses. All I did was enforce a simple parking rule. A man in a bathrobe, Mr. Patel, scoffs. Then why don't the rest of us have violations? A woman next to him, Mrs. Jensen, crosses her arms. Karen, I voted for you when you ran for HOA president. And now I find out you've been targeting our neighbors. Karen clenches her fists. I was not targeting anyone. This is a witch hunt. Marcus smirks. Funny, because I have one more piece of evidence. Karen whips toward him. What? Marcus unlocks his phone and taps a few times. My home security system records audio. And last night, It picked up something very interesting. He turns up the volume, and Karen's voice echoes through the still morning air. We need to get rid of him. The board will never act unless we give them a reason. If we make it look like he's violating rules, we can push him out. A collective gasp ripples through the neighbors. Karen freezes. No, she whispers. That's fake. But the horror on her face says it all. Mrs. Alvarez lets out a low whistle. Well, that's about as clear as it gets. Mr. Hughes shakes his head. Karen, you lied to the board. You falsified complaints. And now? We have recorded proof of you trying to force Marcus out. Karen whirls toward him, desperation overtaking her usual smugness. Tom, we can fix this. I'll resign, okay? I'll step down from the board and we can just… Oh, you're definitely stepping down. Hughes cuts in. But that's not all. Karen flinches. What do you mean? Marcus folds his arms. Harassment. False reports. Tampering with police property. You're looking at real consequences, Karen. Karen's breath comes in short gasps now. She looks around wildly, searching for an ally. But the neighbors' faces are cold, unreadable. They've turned on her. Her reign is over. But Karen refuses to accept it. She suddenly lets out a shrill, hysterical laugh. You think this is over? She gestures to the crowd. All of you are just following the mob. I was doing what's best for this community, and this is how you repay me. Silence. Karen's eyes dart to Marcus, hatred twisting her face. You did this. You turned them against me. Marcus meets her gaze, utterly calm. No, Karen. You did this to yourself. Karen shakes her head, wild and frantic. I'll sue, she shrieks. Every single one of you. I'll take this to the highest. She's cut off by the distant wail of sirens. Karen goes still. Marcus doesn't even need to turn around to know who's coming. 2 black and white patrol cars roll into the cul-de-sac. Back up. Karen's breath shudders as she watches the officers step out. Marcus cocks his head. What was that about escalating to legal action? Her hands tremble as one of the officers approaches. Karen Whitmore? Karen doesn't answer. The officer sighs and pulls out a folded paper. Detective Reynolds reported multiple incidents of harassment and falsified complaints. We've also been forwarded audio evidence suggesting malicious intent. Karen staggers. You can't be serious. The officer glances at Marcus. Detective, would you like to file an official complaint? Marcus watches Karen for a long moment. She looks utterly broken, her carefully crafted world crumbling around her. Then finally he nods. Yes. Karen screams. You can't do this to me, she shrieks as the officer steps forward. I built this neighborhood. The officer takes her gently, but firmly by the arm. Ma'am, I suggest you calm down before this gets worse. Karen shakes her head violently, twisting in his grip. No. You're making a mistake. I was just… Her words cut off as she catches sight of the neighbors. Not one of them steps forward to help her. Not one of them defends her. Her kingdom, her power is gone. And as the officers lead her toward the patrol car, Marcus watches the tyrant fall. The moment Karen's backside hits the patrol car's backseat, the entire neighborhood seems to exhale. A long, drawn-out silence lingers in the air, the weight of everything that just happened settling in. Then Mr. Patel speaks first.
Damn.
Never thought I'd see the day. A murmur of agreement ripples through the small crowd. Mrs. Jensen shakes her head, a look of quiet shame on her face. I knew Karen could be controlling, but this is something else. Marcus stands tall, hands in his pockets, watching Karen through the patrol car window. She's still seething, face twisted in disbelief, her world shattered in an instant. The woman who once wielded power over the entire neighborhood is now nothing more than a disgraced HOA tyrant, exposed, powerless, defeated. Mrs. Alvarez sighs. I spent years thinking she was just a little pushy. But this… She looks at Marcus, regret in her eyes. I should have spoken up sooner. Marcus shrugs. Better late than never. Another neighbor, A man Marcus barely knows steps forward awkwardly. Look, detective, I'll be honest. When Karen made those complaints about you, well, I never really questioned them. I just assumed. Marcus raises an eyebrow. Assumed what? The man swallows hard, looking down. That she was telling the truth. That maybe you were causing trouble. I didn't think twice about it. He sighs, shaking his head. I was wrong. And I'm sorry. Marcus studies him for a moment. This is the real victory. It's not just about Karen getting what she deserves. It's about people seeing what happened and realizing their own blind spots. Marcus nods. Glad you see it now. Another neighbor chimes in. I think we all need to rethink a few things around here. Mr. Hughes steps forward, his expression grim but determined. Well, the good news is Karen won't be our problem much longer. He clears his throat, addressing the crowd. Effective immediately, Karen Whitmore is removed from her position as HOA president. We'll be holding a special vote to replace her. A few people clap, murmurs of approval spreading. And as for all those fines and violations she's been handing out? Hughes continues. I'll be reviewing them personally. Something tells me Marcus isn't the only one who's been unfairly targeted. Marcus smirks. Appreciate that. Mrs. Alvarez nudges him. You should run for HOA president, you know. He lets out a laugh. Yeah, no thanks. I think I'll stick to law enforcement. She grins. Figured you'd say that. The crowd slowly disperses, neighbors going back to their homes, still buzzing over what just unfolded. The morning sun has risen fully now, casting warm golden light over the street, almost like a fresh start. Marcus takes a deep breath, finally feeling the tension in his chest ease. It's over. Karen is gone. Justice is served. And for the first time since moving here, Marcus finally feels like his home is his again. As he turns toward his house, his phone buzzes. A message from his precinct. Saw the live stream. Nicely handled, detective. He chuckles, shaking his head. The entire force probably got a kick out of Karen trying to tow an unmarked police vehicle. A perfect ending. With a final glance at the now empty patrol car, Marcus steps inside, locks the door behind him, and smiles.